Hello, I'm Jerry, and welcome to my studio. I'm starting today with this loose coastal scene because it's the perfect example of how a simple, well-planned composition can carry a painting. If you're new to watercolour or you've ever felt unsure about where to begin, stay with me. I'm going to show you a clear, beginner-friendly way to build a structure without losing that lovely looseness and atmosphere. There's one small compositional choice in this painting that makes the whole scene work, and once you spot it, you'll be able to use it in your own painting straight away. Let's take a moment to look at how this scene holds together. The curve of the beach gently leads the eye into the cottages, and those chimneys and masts give us just enough verticals to break the long horizontals of the shore and sky. Boats in the foreground are simple shapes, but they anchor the space and set the rhythm. Once you understand those relationships, the painting almost builds itself. So let's start laying in the first washes. I'm going to keep the sky quite loose so it doesn't fight with the cottages. I'm using an Escoda size 10. That's an Escoda Perla. French Ultramarine and Cobalt Blue. And what I've done with this, guys, I've designed it beforehand, so I've got some light pencil marks just below where I'm doing the blue marks, putting the blue wash on. The reason I'm going just up to the line is that I'll rub that line off after. If you go over the line, invariably you can't get rid of it. And I don't really like the pencil lines in the sky. And also I like to design it beforehand so I could just paint quite quickly. I'm adding some cadmium red to the blue mixture. Plenty of water. Making sure I'm fairly accurate around these rooftops. I don't want to go over them. All the sky's behind them. Like a tree growing into them. And this will frame those cottages nicely. Plenty of water on this. Let the water do some of the work. I do have the board angled slightly so the water runs down a bit. Just using quite a small brush for this, and as you'll see with the sky area, I'm using the white of the paper. I'll leaving a lot of the white paper there. Just putting some clean water on the edge as I bring it along, working from left to right, keeping the mixture fairly similar, just varying it every now and then by adding a bit of water. It's still wet, so you can go back over it. Keeping it all very loose. Working with my cloud shape that I've drawn beforehand. And if you've got the outline drawing, you can do the same and put the sky into where the lines are just before. And you'll see in a minute I'll erase those pencil lines, give a nice crisp white sky. Shapes, just random shapes, random sky shapes. I don't spend too much time designing the shapes, just the overall size of them really. Plenty of water at the end here. Just want to merge this in. It's all going to dry a bit lighter. So don't forget to put the paint on just a little bit darker than you want, because if you do it the colour you want, it'll dry out too light. And with a sky like this, I'm really going to do it just in one wash. Just touching it with a bit of blue, wet in wet, which will merge in. Most of the paints I've got here are Winsor and Newton, and I'll describe the colours as we go. I'm using sap green and a bit of raw sienna. Putting in these trees on the left, part of the composition to keep the eye in the painting. Nice tall tree on the left there. And then add some water to that mixture to put a first wash on for these bushes at the side of the cottages coming down to the seawall. Varying it a little bit. Raw sienna. Just try and keep the paint flowing. Don't spend too much time working the paint around. You put it on, leave it. I put a lot more pencil marks than I normally do here. It'll be easier for you to work within the shapes. But quite often I not put all these so much pencil marks in for the bushes and the walls and things. This is Payne's Grey, putting in the distant hills and trees and things. And as you can see in the centre, I'm leaving those sails. There's a couple of yachts there, and I want the sails to be just the white of the paper. Raw sienna. Lots of water. A little bit of white. I've got white at the bottom of the palette there. So that dirty looking blob at the bottom of my palette is actually white. I'm just bringing this sand colour down. Quickly getting around the boats. Just going around these boat shapes. Working from top to bottom. And using the same brush throughout. I put it into clean water and I have a thin flat sponge on the table that I rub the brush into. Just going around these boat shapes. Not doing everything, leaving a little bit of white in the immediate foreground. This will dry very light. Now I've let that dry, and this is a medium putty rubber. Do make sure it's completely dry before you start rubbing the pencil marks off, because it will smudge this paint, and it's quite dark, and sometimes it's difficult to remove it once you smudge it. (2B) pencil I use for this. Comes off quite easy as long as there's no paint on it. As soon as you put paint on it, it just fuse it to the paper. So I don't mind it when where the darks are. Just leave the lines there. Go up to that line as my edge. Burnt sienna. Starting to do the cottages. Now you can see with the cottages here, I'm thinking of them in terms of one big shape, not individual buildings joined. I'll vary the colour of these roofs as I go. Just added a bit of water to that one and keeping it away from that edge that I've just painted, as it's a thinner wash. The one that's on there, don't want them two to run together. Going to vary the colour of these roofs as we go further on. It's quite a warm colour for these close cottages. I'm going to do the distant ones in grey. And for that, I'm just using some of that grey mixture. Got a nice big palette here, big workspace. Leave my puddles of paint there. Dip into them. Made this cottage in the distance that's jutting out. I've made the roof of that blue. So we've got a variety of colours there. And using that same colour just to do some of the landmass across the water there. Very quickly. Still using the same brush. I put the blue on, added some water to the brush. Just let that merge. That's really silhouetted those yachts there, 2 yachts in the distance. Using the blue for these windows as well. Working from left to right, top to bottom. Payne's grey. Making these windows darker on the lower level. Now I'm using a very watery mix to do these boats. Those are just shapes at this stage. I'll refine them later. As you can see, kept the foreground simple so it doesn't overpower the cottages. And you'll see as we go, I'll start to put some darks in where the boats are, and that'll anchor them nicely. Raw umber. Starting to put in the seawall. Just filling in where I've made those pencil marks. As it says at the start of the video, the outline drawing for this is going to be available on my website for you to download, so you can copy it and then try the painting yourself. And hopefully with my tips and instructions, it will help you to paint this rather attractive painting. Love the theme of boats and shorelines, clouds. Sap green and cobalt blue now. Quite a thick mixture. Want this to cover quite well. Going to be doing this tree on the left there. Make that quite a bit darker. Just show some flashes of the lighter colour. Don't want this to be a flat green wash, so I've put that thick wash on there and then pushed with the brush and taken some of the paint off. So we've got light and dark. Still using the same brush that I started with. I'm just bringing that down to the top of the bushes, which are going to be lighter. Sepia. There's a variety of colours here. Now that the first wash is dry, I can start adding a bit of definition. I'm choosing where to put my hard edges. Too many of them, it will stiffen the painting. Just bring the washes down with confident strokes, much better than lots of fiddly ones. I want this to feel like a breezy morning, so I'm softening a few edges. Some of these colours merge. I think that helps painting come to life. I'm also thinking about the rhythm of this painting. There's busy areas like the houses and the walls and the trees. You've got the windows, porches and all those things. And then you've got the quiet area coming down to the foreground, to the beach. There's just a few boats, a few stones, a few ropes. Just putting an impression there of a few steps that would be leading you from the houses down onto this beach. Raw umber again. Neat raw umber. More or less straight out of the well. A lot of this will only be painting once. It's got some nice dark paint. Neutral tint added to it. It's quite a dark colour. Just making sure I've got a variety of colours for these bushes. It's not all one colour. Bit of interest there. Second wash going on these boats now. Bringing the wash down top to bottom. Using that grey blue mixture. Just adding a bit of a shadow there to the bottom of it. And then while it's wet, just go straight in with some raw sienna. Very much the same consistency, so it shouldn't run too much. It should stay in that bottom part where the boat is. A little bit too dark, that one. I wanted that one set back a little bit. So I've, while it's still wet, just gone over it with the clean tissue. And then using a much lighter tone of grey to do the distant boat. And I've got some cadmium yellow just in that boat in the far distance. Bring that to life. Doing it yellow so you can see it's a boat. Raw sienna again. Second wash on this roof. I'll just quickly put a first wash on there. I'm just going to touch it with the tissue. Give the appearance of maybe some cloud shadow there on the front of the roof. Make it more interesting. as if it was just one colour. As you can see, leaving little bits of white, little bits of sparkle, which I quite like. You'll notice that I didn't do the chimneys that I'd drawn on the houses further back. I just painted straight over because they're going to be quite a dark colour, so it doesn't matter about painting over those with the sky colour. You notice I don't always mix up fresh colours every time when I'm working my way around the painting. Sometimes I'll just look at my palette and see what's there and use a bit of that. That's a porch. That's a second house. Put that in. Just using the same brush that I used before. And I'm going to give this another wash of that blue, but I will be taking a little bit of it off with the tissue, break that one up as well, like I did the first roof. Much more interesting than just a flat wash. I quite like to use that method because it's not like just doing it with a paintbrush. Looking round, you put that on there and you get some quite nice, interesting shapes. Sometimes you don't even mean to do the shape that it turns out at. Always use a clean tissue though, not one with paint on it. So you might put a road colour on there or a dark colour and find it difficult to remove. Distant sea, cerulean blue. Let's go around those couple of yachts again. Payne's grey. Putting it into the bluey mixture, so a bluey grey colour for these shade areas on the houses. These really add to the composition, make the houses pop, come out 3D. Remember, the sun's coming from the right, shadows are on the left. Doesn't matter if you forget the odd shadow, you can always go back to it. French Ultramarine and Cobalt Blue. Just putting in a shadow that's cast from these overhanging roof tiles. using a size 8 perler. Using a Skoda brush. I like their brushes. Synthetic. Very expensive. Have a nice point. They last quite a while. Going in with neutral tint and green. Darken this up quite a bit. Left hand side. Put a few branch shapes at the top. A few dots and dabs. You can see I'm just putting it on, letting the watercolour do its thing. You really don't have to work it around. Once you put it on, just leave it there. Let it dry. Just let the just dried that off now in painting. Putting in the detail now on these boats. Blue or sienna. Using it dark Payne's grey to put that shadow in. Raw umber neutral tint. Nice thick mixture. Going to be doing these chimney stacks with a sky like this. Chimney stacks always be very dark. Silhouetted against the sky. And I'll be putting in those chimney pots that I painted over with the cloud colour. All add to the composition. Light against dark and dark against light. Just looking around at where I need to put these darks in. You can see with these dark shadows there under these rowboats that are on the beach there, how that really does anchor them to the sand. This is a 1/4 inch dagger brush, Jackson's own make. Very nice point on it and holds quite a lot of paint. I do like it for when I'm getting to the final parts of a painting. Just need that accuracy. A brush that can contain enough paint to do a few marks. the aerial on this one. That's quite attractive. Adds to the composition. Now this is a rigger brush that I'm using. Very long, fine tip on it. Ideal for doing ropes. Very fine lines like window frames. And I'm just working my way along, bringing these cottages to life. Just this hint of dark. You can see how they get transformed as I move along. Just doing a kind of broken edge with this brush. I'm just putting lines in. I'm not putting the lines on every edge. A couple of posts there for interest. And then there's these cliff wall with bits of rope, ropes on the boats, marks and pebbles on the beach, but really just keeping that foreground very, very simple. Don't want a lot going on there. As I said, that's the quiet spot. Let's feel calm. Try not to fiddle too much at this stage. I can be as guilty as anybody as putting too much. Too many marks, too many lines at the end. Restraint is needed. Good fun this bit, quite like this, going around doing this. Hard work's been done. As I've done quite a few pencil marks, it's made it a bit easier for me at this stage to just put in where I put these pencil marks. Using my finger there to smudge a bit of dark colour in. These roofs would be quite weathered being this close to the sea. Make that shadow darker, really stand out in front of that house. You can always go darker with watercolour, but you can't go lighter. Just putting a shadow on that porch, on that cottage there, which I hadn't put in before. I only just noticed it a little while ago. Just tidying up bits and pieces. All the information that I'm giving you will be in the description below. I think I've said most things. The paper I'm using is a quarter imperial sheet of Saunders Waterford 140 pounds rough. Have it taped to a board with regular masking tape, which I'm going to remove at the end to leave a nice crisp white edge. Let's do these boats in the distance. Had a bit of interest to the right hand side there. Stop the eye going off the painting. That part of the painting. Signing this piece. Taking off the masking tape. I really hope you've enjoyed this, and I would like you to have a go. You can send me your efforts on by contacting me on the webpage. Thanks for joining me. See you again.